It was sad. The Japanese were seen opposing the state funeral of its former Prime Minister, Shinzo Abe. 3 months back, he was shot by a 41-year-old man. And what makes it weird and unthinkable, Shinzo Abe assassination is one where sympathy for the victim has matched the empathy for its assassin. Yes, you heard that right. The people of Japan are empathetic with his killer, and they have been very critical of his state funeral, which had been announced 3 months back. More than 60% of the population opposed the $18 million state funeral that was held today. The current government LDP's popularity as a result of it has tanked, with ratings down to 29% in the last 3 months. Hi, I'm Shruti Vyas. In an interview with The Economist magazine, Shinzo Abe had said that his simplest wish was that Japan should no longer be haunted, for he did not believe in ghosts. But unfortunately, his death has unleashed monsters that is disfranchising his legacy and the work he did. Today, Japan is a divided Japan, one that is struggling to reconcile the statesman-like legacy of Abe with the domestic consequences of his years in power. So conflicting the mood has been. For on one hand, more than 50 past and present leaders, including the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, the US Vice President, Kamala Harris, and Prime Minister of Singapore and Australia, past and present, all gathered in Japan to pay their last respect to the former Prime Minister of Japan. But the streets were lined with protesters and their sloganeering. Majority of the Japanese are unhappy and very angry with the former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. So while the world remembered Abe for his mellow smile, his sincerity of grit, being cordially therefore liked among the world leaders, his death was therefore greatly mourned and gushing tributes were made when he was assassinated 3 months back, which was also seen today when the leaders of the world gathered to say the final goodbye. Just what we saw few days back when the Queen of England died. Mood there was somber, sad, and the whole United Kingdom, along with the Commonwealth, was united in grief. But in Japan, like I said earlier, the mood is deeply divided. Japanese people were seen resenting and opposing the ceremony. Not only this, the 41-year-old who shot at the former Prime Minister has been receiving empathy on a large scale. So why are the Japanese so angry with their former Prime Minister and tarnishing his legacy? Why was Shinzo Abe killed when all we saw and heard was that he was a benevolent taskmaster who took Japan to new heights, who saw only patriotism and national self-confidence needed for rebuilding Japan and asserting itself on the world stage? Well, his assassin told the investigators that he targeted the politician because of his ties to the church, whose members are commonly known as Moonies. So what church is this I'm talking about? Well, this is the Family Federation of World Peace and Unification, formerly named the Japan Unification Church. And in the aftermath of Abe's death, a torrent of revelations have surfaced about ties between Abe's Liberal Democratic Party, which is now led by Kishida, and the Unification Church. So what is this Unification Church? Well, this church was founded in South Korea in 1954 by the self-proclaimed Messiah Sun Myung Moon. And in Japan, this church was encouraged to establish a presence by Abe's grandfather and post-war Prime Minister Nobusuke Kishi as a counter to communism and trade unionism. The organization is known for its mass weddings and has been accused of pressuring believers into making donations which they cannot afford. To get these donations, the church had a very compelling message to sell by saying that Japan had committed war crimes during its occupation of Korea and during World War II. Therefore, its congregation now had to atone through donations. Yeah, it found a gap, a mole in Japan's belief system, for it is a country with a dwindling number of devout religious followers, where the local saying goes, Japanese are born Shinto, married Christian, die Buddhist. As a result, Japan has become the South Korean church's largest market and biggest source of income. Though the organization has denied such claims and of any wrongdoings, but the group has been close to Japan's conservative politicians. In the aftermath of the former Prime Minister's death, the Japanese media has revealed that the other members of the LDP too had attended church events or sought help from their members. A survey conducted by the party found that 179 of its 379 lawmakers had interacted with the church that has sent thousands of its followers into debt and despair. Since Abe's grandfather was part of the organization, people believed he too was. Something that came into light last September when Shinzo Abe appeared remotely as a speaker at a Unification Church related event. Basically, in Japan, Abe was started to be seen as the controversial and the key figure who mixed politics with religion, who connected the party to the church. The political utility of such groups was more broadly underpinned by their ability to attract the unorganized, the social and economic have-nots who were not grouped through economic organizations or strong employment connections. And thus, links to such organizations provided a mechanism for politicians to reach out to voters who were not members of established interest groups, but who could be useful for those candidates who might need extra support if organized interest group support was insufficient for victory. In a simpler language, the Unification Church is regarded as a cult that frequently drives its victims into financial ruin while delivering the votes of its followers to the Japanese government. The shooter who killed Abe revealed that he killed him because his mother had once made a huge contribution to the church, which was way above her limit, ending up to his family going bankrupt. All this news of Abe using the Unification Church for his political upliftment was disagreeable to the people, and as such, in the aftermath of his death, such news is dominating the Japanese media, thus creating more ripples and animosity towards the former Prime Minister among the general public. Undeniably, these links to the church has made Shinzo Abe a divisive figure at home. But one cannot discredit him, for he did truly make Japan to new heights. In the aftermath of World War II, Japan had been struggling, trotting to find its footing on the world stage, and Abe assertively got things turned around. His first administration was a failure, lasting barely a year in 2006-2007, but it was in his second, running from 2012 to 2020, when he found his voice and gave Japan its prominence back. His economic and security policies, which was also known the economic policy known as the Abenomics, received largely positive reviews abroad. But at home, he had many enemies and oppositions. Critics say he dragged the country to the right, treated the constitution with contempt, and presided over an administration that was mired in cronyism and sleaze. The unemployment spiked during that time, resulting in spurt of violent crimes such as the Joker attack, particularly rising more in the last year. These crimes are being committed by unemployed men who hold a grudge against the society. Religion and politics, politics mixing with religion. Japan being one of the safest countries in the world, yet seeing rise in violence. The country of traditions, of Buddhism, seems so much like what happens in India, what makes India at times. But be it anywhere, any developed civilization of intellect, politics, when mixed with religion, kills the human character and the values everywhere. So much so that one of the finest prime minister that Japan had got, it's one of its longest serving leader, who indeed gave Japan a new identity, is being disfranchised of the golden legacy, for he mixed politics with religion. That's all for today. Thank you for listening.